Hey, church, I wanted to share with you an experience I had recently that I haven't had in a long time. I went to Costco. Now, I haven't been to Costco in years, and I forgot how overwhelming Costco is with the amount of things that they have, the size of things that they have. It was crazy. And as my family and I were going through the store, we kept putting all the things in our cart. We finally get to the checkout area, and maybe your family plays this game. We said, well, how much do you think it's going to be? And so we all take our guesses. And when that number comes up, and it's always more than you think it is, now we play the game of, are we willing to pay that cost for all of these things? And that's not much different that when it comes to following Jesus. We need to know what the cost is, and are we willing to pay that cost? And Jesus talks about this in Luke 14. So I'd encourage you to read that text. But basically what Jesus is saying is the cost to follow him is about reorienting your life. It's reorienting your values, your purpose, and how you use your time, your talent, and your treasure. We have to reorient. We have to adjust our life to follow Jesus, which is not the way we typically live. We typically want Jesus to adjust to us and the way that we live and the things that we have. But what God is calling us to is a life of devotion. Are we devoted to Jesus? Now, when you think about devotion, we know devotion. Think about those people who line up outside an Apple store when a new iPhone is released. People will camp out for days. They are devoted to having that product. There was an NFL football player recently who was so devoted to playing in his first NFL game that he missed his sister's wedding so that he could play in a game. That is devotion. And then for you baseball fans out there, Hall of Famer Cal Ripken Jr. played in 2,632 straight games, never missing a game. That is devotion. That's the type of devotion that we need to have to God. We need to be waiting with anticipation for God's word every day. We need to be willing to make hard choices because we're so devoted to God. And we need to make sure that we never miss a time with God. There's another story I would encourage you to read in John's gospel, John chapter 6. Jesus has been telling his disciples some hard teachings and what it means to be his follower. And in John chapter 6, verse 66, it said, after some heard this, they turned and walked away and basically said, it's too hard. It was too hard for them to follow Jesus the way that Jesus said, here's what it takes to follow me. Here's the cost. Look, we all understand the cost of things. If you're going to coach your kids' team, you say, well, how much time do I need and when are the practices, are the games? If you're going to serve on a board in some way, you say, well, when are the meetings and what do I have to do? We all count the cost of a lot of things that we do. But do we count the cost? Do we know the cost of what it is to follow Jesus? And are we willing to pay that cost? And what Jesus says is that you need to love me more than anybody else. You need to put me first ahead of your spouse and your kids and your job and your future. You need to put your trust in me more than you put your trust in you or your paycheck or anything else. You need to put your value and identity in me and not in you or what other people say. And this is hard, and some people aren't willing to pay that cost. Even those closest to Jesus. Think of Judas. Judas was with Jesus for almost 3 years. And he was there when Jesus did miraculous things and taught. But at the end of the day, for Judas, when he had the chance to make 30 silver shekels some money, he said, that's more important to me than following Jesus. He says, I'm not willing to pay that cost. So here's my question. What are your 30 silver shekels? What's that thing that is more important to you than paying the cost to follow Jesus? What is it that you're putting before Jesus that you think can do more for you than Jesus, that you're so